Hey everybody, Lorraine Lewis here from Vixen, and you are watching the Clash Course Metal Show with Trevor Knight, who I gotta tell you, he really knows his rock and roll and his metal. So check it out. XOXO.
I know you guys are asking yourself, hey, it's 1993, hair metal, hard rock, all that kind of stuff similar to that was dead in 1993. How can there be any forgotten albums, or were there even any albums released? And we are here to tell you today that yes, this is the perfect breeding ground to find some forgotten albums that you didn't even know existed. And the first band is going to be from the Philly area here in Pennsylvania. And they did actually form in the mid 80s, like around 85, but they just didn't really weren't able to really release anything until 1993, and that is going to be Kiss Me in French from Sick Vicky. So this one here is quite interesting as far as, in the early 90s, towards the last breath of hair metal or sleaze metal and such, you had bands that were either going kind of really commercial or going really bluesy, going real sleazy, which we will get to a real bluesy band here in this episode. But Sick Vicky, not so much. This is more on, I guess, more on the AOR side, I guess, if you want to place it somewhere in a subgenre of hair metal. But I will say that the only reason why I would say that is because there's not really one song that is hard and heavy, like fast at you, like say a Spread Eagle, Switchblade Serenade, or something along those lines, or like anything off of Britney Fox Bite Down Hard, something like that. Nothing really there as far as that goes. But as far as melody goes, as far as just good songwriting, great ballads, there's 3 ballads on here that are just amazing, which one of them is Crying. It actually finishes the album off uh, here, and that is the song that you're listening to probably right now in the background, and that's an amazing song. But yeah, I want to also give a shout out to Pat and Richie, the vocalist and the bass player. They came to one of my meet and greets here at the Keystone Record Expos that we do every month with different bands and stuff, and they were more than happy to come and sell some merch, meet some fans, and it was just absolutely awesome. And I want to give a shout out to them again for making the trip down here and doing that, and we all had a blast. It was great. So, but that goes to the point though too. I never really heard this album up until before then. I had a buddy that was like, "Hey, this band is good. Check them out. Get them at your meet and greet and stuff at the Record Expo." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, cool, man. Hair metal, like anything from this era is fine by me." And we had this album playing for everyone in the building, and I could see people that knew this album or any of the songs on here, but they were digging it, and that was really cool about it. And I was certainly one of them. Certainly, like the ballads were very catchy, and just like the songs, like I said, like it has like a little bit of that AOR, like real melodic stuff. It's catchy choruses, very good. Richie sounds good on the vocals here. The whole band sounds good. Guitar solos and such. It is a very good album. But sadly though, we are in 1993. There is just uh no airplay here for them, no promotion, no music video. It was dead on arrival, basically. And they did have a little following here in Pennsylvania and such, and on the East Coast. But yeah, like it's the end of the road, sadly, for a lot of these bands, especially releasing a first album and such, or only a couple, as what you'll see here with some of these bands on the rest of the list here. But Sick Vicky, though, Kiss Me in French, some of my favorites, like I said, Cry is the best ballad on here. But there are like a total of 3 ballads here that are really, really good. And every time they come on, they don't get skipped at all. The title track's really good to open up the album. Her body complements the beat, nice kind of mid-tempo. You know, get you moving a little bit. There's a lot of people at the expo that were digging that song that I took notice of. Make Me Bleed is one of the other ballads is really good. Baby Talks Dirty, Tough Enough, the second track. There isn't a bad track on here, but like the only thing I would say is there's not that real one fist pumper as far as like I said in the beginning here, that you could really hang your hat on, just like really headbang to, and just that kind of deal. But that takes nothing away from this album. This album is really good. I play it still. I had this now for probably like 2-3 months. I don't know how long it's been since the expo, but I've had this and it is still talked about with me and a couple buddies, and I still play it still. Like I said, the ballads are on the ballad playlist. I'll put the link to the ballad playlist in the description on Spotify if you guys are interested in checking out all these songs of the whole collection, and not stuff that's not even in the collection either. That's more than 5 days long, if you will, of just ballads and emotional rescue type stuff. So guys, please check out Sick Vicky. Shout out to Richie and Pat again. They are doing some new stuff as well, and hopefully they can come on the show and talk about the new stuff that they're doing. And they do play. They did reform, which is how we ended up getting this 30th reissue, 30th anniversary reissue. So very cool, guys. Check out Sick Vicky, please. Very good. It's just one of those. I certainly enjoy. These are my favorite years of the Forgotten series because absolutely no one knows of any of this stuff here. There is one that people will know, but I think it's just so overlooked that it has to be talked about here in this episode. But we'll get to that here later. But no, check out Sick Vicky. Great stuff. Good guys. Very cool. Very cool to talk to. And check out a live show too, if because they play here on the East Coast now again. So check them out. Certainly cool. All right, our second pick. I'm quite excited to talk about this one because no one that I ever I only seen one physical copy of this ever, and I have it obviously, but it's hard to find. I don't even know if there's any streaming for it or anything other than like YouTube. But it's just a great album, and it has to be here on the first video for 1993, and that is going to be The Graveyard Train. Alrighty, so first things first, you do have Todd Griffin on vocals. You have Bruce on guitar, Frank on bass, and Robert on the drums. And I now, if anyone, I'm sure most people are familiar with John Corabi. He was in Angora, Motley Crue replacing Vince Neil, and The Scream for an album. And there's a couple other projects and bands that he's in as well now. And but when John left Angora, it was two members from this band, Robert and Frank, I believe. They went and formed Graveyard Train here.
I was not aware of that.
And I gotta tell you something, guys. If you guys enjoyed what or some of the loosier picks from these forgotten episodes and just other episodes in general that we talk about here, do yourself a favor, please, and absolutely check this out some way, somehow, physically, stream, either YouTube, Pop Talk, anything, and listen to this. This is the pinnacle of blues metal, and like mixed with sleaze, mixed with like one track is in here is even like a slight rockabilly type deal. But no, it is awesome. I can't praise this album enough. The first 6 tracks, let's just do this here. Okay, so there's a total of 13 tracks. Okay, but the first 6 tracks, you are not gonna find a better first 6 tracks. it's gonna be hard to find an output from any year better than these 6 tracks. You got Down to the Wire, Hell on Wheels, Memphis 999.
Hell yes.
That song is absolutely amazing. That's the one that you're hearing in the background right now. And you got Walking the Line, Medicine Man, and Graveyard Boogie to finish out the first half here, or at least the first 6 tracks. I don't know if it gets much better than that, guys. This album. Okay, so back again, we're here in 1993, and these guys are like, hey, apparently, I would imagine they seen the writing on the wall with, blues metal, hair metal going down the drain, like sleaze. Nothing's working anymore. That's all out of fashion. And they said, they basically did a big fuck you.
I don't give a fuck.
We are gonna do an all-out, balls to the walls, blues, sleazy, dirty, just real dirty and gritty album here, and you can feel that shit, and it is absolutely crazy. It's amazing. It's amazing. Because when I was younger, I had this album probably about what now? At least probably 8 years. And the first couple of years, I liked about the first half, and then there was a couple songs that were just okay on the second half. But as time goes on, I'm loving more and more of the second half because you do have like this ballad. It's just okay. It's not anywhere near like a top 50, 100 ballad of mine. It's okay though in the context of the album. The Reason I Love You is what it's called. But my gosh, like I said, you get a little bit of that rockabilly, which is the 11th track, Change the World. You get a little bit of that rockabilly bass and just like that tempo going. Oh my gosh. And Memphis 999, if there's one song that you guys need to hear out of everything that we're talking about in this video, I would say Memphis 999. And that's the other thing too. We had Drew Rose from the lead vocalist for Wildside on last year, and Wildside went on like a little tour, like a couple shows with the Graveyard Train, and Drew had nothing but praise for him, and rightfully so because they're an awesome band, and it's just crazy. And dude, that's like one bill that I would absolutely love to see. 1993, 1992, around that era, like those two playing on that bill. That's amazing. Like those are Under the Influence, Wildside, and the Graveyard Train, debut. God, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't get much better than that, guys. These two. But back here at Graveyard Train, it's just well, actually, the reason why I brought up Drew Rose from Wildside is because they did go on tour, but the guitar player, Bruce, I believe, he went on to do Wildside's guitar duties, become Wildside's guitarist for the second album, which came out in 94, 95 for Wildside. And don't be expecting, if you love like this album here, don't be expecting to hear anything like that or Under the Influence on the second Wildside album, sad to say. It's all right if you're really into like the grunge type deal of stuff, but coming off those 2 albums of the debut of the Wildside and debut of the Graveyard Train, you're gonna be disappointed. But like to say, there ain't nothing. Not that there's no good stuff on there, but it's just coming from greatness. It's obviously gonna be a letdown. But no, guys, check out Memphis 999. The first 3 tracks, at least the first three tracks on this album, absolutely amazing. And like I said, they gave the world a big fuck you. We're going down in flames with this. This is who we are, and this is the only album that they did. And I think they did do a reissue of this album, if I'm not mistaken, like around 2010 or so, like 10 years or 15 almost now. That's crazy. But yeah, there's some really, really good stuff here, especially if you're a fan of the bluesy side of metal. Oh, man, there's no reason why you wouldn't love this. And please get your hands on it one way or another. This is one that needs to be in every blues metals collection, fans collection here. So check out 1993's The Graveyard Train. All right, so for our last pick, or not pickup, but our last choice for 1993's Forgotten Albums. Now, this one is m certainly more known than probably anything else that we've done in the whole series, probably, and because it did go gold. And that's kinda like one of the things where I kinda draw the line, like, obviously, how can something be forgotten if it did pretty well in the certifications and such, like going gold or platinum? But I think this one here gets very underlooked or overlooked, and it's certainly underrated in my view. And that is gonna be 1993's Native Tongue from Poison. So now this album here, very bluesy. They went even more bluesier than say Flesh and Blood, which you could really start to tell they were going more open up and say mixing it with blues, and that's how you get Flesh and Blood. But with this, you get, if you had 1 foot in blues in Flesh and Blood, you got 2 feet in here with Native Tongue. So this is one, obviously you have CC departing, and you got Richie Kotzen on this album, which I think probably is a plus. Because like, don't get me wrong, CC's great. He's great on all the Poison albums. I love his solo. He's, you could argue he kind of gets overlooked as just a straight guitarist, his solos and such like that, his tone. But I think Richie here brings a different element to this album. And one of the other reasons why I think it's overlooked is obviously because no CC. And I think the band Poison now kind of overlooks this album. I don't think they play anything live. I know when I seen them twice, about 15 years ago, both times, give or take around, late 2000s, they didn't play anything off this album that I can remember. And, they kind of want you to forget about it, which obviously they did have to kick Richie out because he was having an affair, I think, with Ricky's girlfriend or something like that. Something to that effect. And I think they just kind of want to push this album away. They don't really want to bring anything up. And, I kind of get that, for those reasons. Like, obviously, you don't have CC, and it just bad times with this album just because of dying scene and stuff too. But there is some really good stuff. Like I said, with the blues, if you're a fan of bluesy type rock or metal, I don't know. And even Poison fans, I think, really overlook this album. And I don't get it. I don't know why. Do people just not like Richie that much, like his playing? I think his playing is great on this album as well. He does some backing vocals, I don't know. It just adds a different dimension and element, a different flavor to this album. So you had the really good single off here, Stand, which I think a lot of people do know that. Like, if anyone knows one song off this album, it's going to be Stand. But you had 15 tracks total, but some of them, like a couple of these are like intros and stuff, so you probably get a full 12-track album, 13-track album, which I will say is probably a little long. You probably could take 1 or 2 off of it. But I have to say, 7 Days Over You is my favorite. That's probably my favorite song off here. And then you got the 2 ballads that I really enjoy, and that is Theater of Soul and Until You Suffer Some. But yeah, I think where there's some deep stuff on here that I really enjoy, like Blind Faith, which is the 14th track. When you look at it, because you're almost at an hour here of total length for this album, but like I said, Blind Faith, a really good deep cut of an album. You get a really good solo. You get Bobby doing a little bit of bass work before the solo, which is really cool. It's just the whole band sounds good. Ricky sounds good on the drums there on this album. Brett is starting to do a little bit of his like wangy, like he changes some of his vocal deliveries through this album on some of these songs. Like, you're starting to see like a hint of that. Like, he will eventually do like Cracker Smiling more and, stuff like that with the material on there that he does. But no, I really like this. And now, like I said, it did go gold, so it's not like it's totally, uh, you know, like you can't find it or anything. You still can, but I think certainly this is one that gets overlooked by the Poison fans and just rock and metal and blues fans in general. Like I said, I think Richie brings an element that I really, really enjoy to to this album, and just his guitar work in general as well. But yeah, man, Theater of Soul, Until You Suffer Some, great two ballads. Stand is a great single. It's catchy. I like the lyrics. It's just good all around. But I think it is one or two songs too long. Just cut that under 50 minutes if you can. Off 50 minute under 50 minutes for this album. That would be great. But for the lineup, you got the originals here: Brett, Bobby, and Ricky. But then obviously bringing in Richie. So I think that kind of hinders it a little bit too, with the band not really playing anything live from this. At least that I've seen. I could be wrong on that, but and then that doesn't help. And then also just bad timing of when this came out. Just people weren't really into it anymore, and then when the 80s or the traditional hard rock and metal came back around in the 2000s, this is just one that kind of just got overlooked. And, people always thinking about open up, say, look what the cat dragged in, shit like that. But this is one, if the maturity is here on this, the growth, the musical growth, the songwriting is here on this album, more so than any other album, I think, for Poison, and that's a big plus for me as well. It gets better over time. As you grow older, this gets better over time. As far as like, look what the cat dragged in. The older you get, it's more like, more bubblegummy. More for a kid. More for a teenager and stuff. But this, you can tell they're growing up, as is the fans, and this is what you get, and it's awesome. I really enjoy it. Another PA band, Mechanicsburg, like an hour away from me. Not even an hour away, half an hour. And so Hometown Boys here, very cool. Check it out. Like I said, probably for me, 7 Days Overdue. That's probably my favorite song off this. And then Blind Faith is a really cool deep track as well. And then check out the ballads as well. If you're a ballad guy, check out Until You Suffer Some and Theater of Soul. But that is about it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys picked up. What forgotten albums that you guys think for 1993, because it's a weird year, obviously. It's, grunge is in pretty full effect here now. No bands are getting signed anymore. No bands are getting promotion. No bands are really getting any videos. No more certifications even from the years prior. So it's an interesting time, and this is going to be a fun one because I got a few more albums from 1993, and then we're going to do 1994. We're going to do 1995 as well. So there's certainly some more ground to be explored with a forgotten album and of the rock and metal genre during this time. So very exciting, very exciting. So guys, if you haven't already, comment, click the like button, subscribe. That helps out the channel so much, and we appreciate it. We want to keep bringing you guys some great music, especially stuff that you haven't heard from. Like, help the underground, help the stuff that isn't mainstream, because we get tired of hearing the same stuff all the time, don't we? At least I do. I can't stand mainstream radio, whether it be even Sirius XM and stuff. Like, I'm tired of hearing the same songs all the time. So that's how I always was. But now I can kind of hopefully share it with you and, make the world merrier. But guys, until next time, thank you for watching the Crash Course Metal Show. I'm Trevor Crash Knight. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's called I Want to Rock Your Body. And then in parentheses it says to the break of dawn.